Welcome to Section 5 of Module 1. In this section, we will be discussing the component of focus on pre-K called Swpl. Research shows that awareness of letters, their sounds, and how they form words is a necessary precursor to learning how to read. In the Swpl component, children develop these skills through songs, wordplay, and letters. A typical approach in many preschool curricula is letter of the day or letter of the week. The alphabet is presented in sequence without a lot of context or relevance to children. A is for apple. What are other words that start with A? This isn't the most effective approach because in order to become skilled readers, children need to comprehend words as well as recognize them. Children understand words more readily when they are in context. The Swpl approach is also sequenced, but it is the skills progression from listening to identifying phonemes, the smallest unit of sound, that is kept in sequence rather than the alphabet. Swpl words are more meaningful to children because they are in the context of the unit of study. Like the unit read-aloud texts, Swpl texts support the unit's enduring understandings and essential questions. In Over in the Meadow and Time for Bed, animal families care for each other, similar to how the families care for each other in the read-alouds. What do you notice about the text in Over in the Meadow? Unlike the sophisticated vocabulary and complicated plots in read-alouds, Swpl vocabulary and plots are simpler and more familiar to children. Because the words often do not need defining for children, and the plot is easy to comprehend, children's focus can be on the letters and their sounds. The language in Swpl texts is more controlled, repeating a predictable pattern. This allows children to not only memorize the words, but, more importantly, internalize the language structure. Like other learning experiences in Focus on Pre-K, Swpl builds on the familiar and becomes more complicated throughout the curriculum. In this example, children play with new letters and sounds by replacing the letters of Bingo with Vicky, a character in Dog's Colorful Day. As always, consider which instructional practices and guiding principles are reflected in this component. Each day of instruction has a sequenced set of Swpl activities called the clipboard directions. For efficiency, many teachers keep the week's set of lessons at the ready on a clipboard in the meeting area. You will notice that the clipboard directions list the Swpl activities at the top and building blocks whole group activities at the bottom. Building Blocks is the foremost preschool math curriculum that is integrated into Focus on Pre-K. Like the Focus on Pre-K literacy approach, Building Blocks follows a sequence of progression of skills, referred to as learning trajectories. There are learning trajectories for numeracy, geometry, and patterns and measurement. The three main components of building blocks are math whole group, math centers, and math small groups. The math whole group activities are similar to Swpl activities in that children often work with poems, songs, or finger plays. Even though Swpl and building blocks whole group are presented together in the clipboard directions, they do not need to be scheduled as another whole group time on the rug. Many teachers use the clipboard activities throughout the day during transitions, such as lining up or setting up a snack. However, be mindful that some activities, like building blocks snapshots, is more effective in a whole group because children listen to their peers thinking. It's key to expanding their understanding. The Swpl predictable texts are included in your curriculum materials. For the Swpl poems, we recommend that you present them on chart paper or on sentence strips. Texts for each of the poems can be found in your Unit 1 binder. Because children need to focus on the letters and letter sounds, illustrations of the poem aren't necessary and are often distracting for children. Also, consider creating interactive materials to scaffold and engage children. The tune for the Swpl songs can be found on music sources such as iTunes or YouTube. Finally, let's consider how Swpl supports other curriculum components such as centers. For week 3 in Unit 1, the Library and Listening Center activity is Reading to Dolls and Stuffed Animals. Time for Bed is a text used in Swpl that same week. Because children have experience with its predictable structure, it is perfect for this activity. Or, in this dramatization center, where children use what they learned about letters and their sounds in Swpl to write their list for the grocery store. Watch the following video of Swpl in a focus on pre-K classroom. What evidence do you notice of instructional practices and guiding principles? After you watch the video, don't forget to complete the check for understanding.